When certain things happen in your life, you just don't understand how your body's going to react to that stress. And this was a very particular moment in my life where, man, I'll tell you this, I was in a very good state. I was working for my church for about 6 years as a missionary. And I loved my job. I just loved what I was doing, just seeing people's lives being transformed. So I was in a very good place before this happened. And while I was doing God's work, something happened to my family, a member of my family, which took I would say took my body into stress mode, which I've never felt before. And I'll tell you this, I've lost my mom. And that was a very difficult thing to deal with. But for some reason, this was different. This type of stress was different. Because when you see somebody that you love suffering or going through something while they're alive, I think it's a little bit more difficult. So for me, seeing that person going through what she was going through was very hard, was very difficult to comprehend. It all started when this was my sister. She was going through something very difficult in her life, and I had to witness every single detail of that process. And I'm not going to go into details of her story because I would love for her to tell her story. But me being a witness and seeing everything that she was going through just completely took me to a place where I've never been before. And I remember moments where she was going through some hard times, and I remember that I would wake up my wife in the middle of the night and just, tap her in the middle of the night and just tell her that I just couldn't deal with what was going on with my sister. And I felt this darkness where I couldn't just shake off. I had to just jump in the shower, take a shower, and I just couldn't shake it off. I just didn't understand or explain what was going on. So while I was going through that, for some reason I started self-diagnosing myself and just started thinking, I think I'm in depression because it's something that I've never felt before. It's something that I've never understood. So while that was going on, my wife she got a little bit worried. She was like, what are you feeling? And I'm just like, I just don't know. I just don't feel any happiness. I feel empty. I feel I'm in a dark place. And that was very difficult for me, very hard to understand that. Because also, I was serving the Lord. I was doing God's work. And, I was always on this positive, even though I was, helping so many people through their circumstances and their problems. And I knew how to deal with it. But at the same time, it was super difficult to understand why I was feeling that way. I remember when I was dealing with the situation, and I remember people started noticing this white line on my beard, just a white hair on my beard, and they were just saying, you're just getting old. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, I'm getting old. Okay, there's one white hair, so I just pluck it out. But the more the situation started getting worse, it just started growing, just started getting bigger. And so I started getting worried. And that's where I just started thinking to myself, man, there's something wrong with me. My body is telling me something, and I'm under a lot of stress. So it does become real when you start seeing your body manifesting in a certain way. Yeah, I really believe it was a manifestation of how I was feeling. My body was just not dealing with it properly. And of course, functional medicine doctors are going to say it's my hormones, and there's other things along with that. And of course, that plays a part in it. But again, I was never aware of that feeling. And just seeing that happening to me was very difficult. But the most difficult thing was just seeing that person that you love going through what they were going through. And that was super hard. That was super hard. So dealing with that. And I was struggling with God because I was talking to God and I was like, God, why are you allowing this to happen? I serve you. I do everything I can to help other people. And now you're allowing this to happen to my sister. And it was just so difficult to see that. And I was having this battle with God. And I think that's where the issue started happening. My trust in God, I started doubting whether God was going to be able to take us out of that situation. I could not see tomorrow. I could not see the future. So it was very difficult to deal with that. There was a point where God manifested himself through this whole process, through everything that was happening with my sister and, the whole family. And we received the answer that we needed to hear, right? God did a miracle in my sister's life through what she was going through. And I remember that day when we got the news, and I received that news that it was one of the best news that we received. It was a miracle, to tell you the truth. It was a miracle. And the moment I got that news, I left the room and I just started crying. And one of the reasons why I started crying was because my sister received the news that she needed to, right? The miracle that she needed. The second was because I doubted, right? I lost trust in God. And God at that moment showed me that he was always in control, that he was always with us. No matter what was happening, he was always with us. In so many instances of the whole process, God was showing that he was with us. But I wanted it my way. And that was creating a lot of stress on me. So the moment that everything was at peace, basically everything was settled, a few weeks later, and I just started noticing that this was not growing anymore. The spot was not growing anymore. It just stopped completely. And that's what's so interesting about how your body reacts to certain things. There's people that tell me, I remember my father telling me when he started seeing this, and he was a little bit worried and concerned, and what people are going to think. And he was, telling me, get a tattoo over it and just paint over it or whatever the case is. And I said no, because this is something that reminds me. It's always going to be a reminder of what God did in our lives. Every time I look in the mirror, it's a reminder that regardless of what's going on in my life, he is with us. And so it's kind of a battle wound to remind us that we might be in the battle, but God is always with us in the battles. And I keep it with me. I don't cover it, and I'm already used to it. But a lot of people don't know that I didn't grow up with this. This is not a birthmark. This is something that my body manifested in a moment of stress. When we pray to God, we want God to answer it the way that we want it to be. The thing is that we can never see the big picture. We'll never be able to see the big picture. And because of what happened, there's so many lives that have been touched because of it. There's things that we're never going to comprehend, and some people always have the question, why is suffering allowed? And suffering was never part of God's plan. For us to go through the things that we go through in life, God never intended that for us. But the trials, the tribulations, the struggles, the stress, it does something to us. It really transforms us. It really prunes us to who we need to be. And I want to confess something to you guys. Right now, as we're recording this video, I'm going through this again. I'm going through what I call depression. And I'm in that dark place again. But something amazing is happening. God, once again, is manifesting himself in my life. There are so many things that I was not able to see that needed to be pruned out of my life. And because I'm in this dark place, God is able to shine a light to what's wrong. And a lot of little changes are happening in my life. Now, is God pleased? Am I happy to be in this situation, in this state? No, I don't want to be in this state. I do everything I can to be. People that know me personally know that I'm a very outgoing person, very happy person. I love people. But I'm in this state right now. It's real. Depression is real. But I'm doing everything I can to have victory over it. And I know that God has given me the strength and wisdom in how to deal with it. So right now, I'm in that state. But God is showing me so many things that I didn't see before to make me better than who I was yesterday.